Questions for reflection. In our first reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah, we hear a part of the story of how the Lord chose a pagan king, Cyrus, the king of Persia, during the Babylonian captivity, to set the people of Israel free and rebuild the temple. The Lord uses political authority to accomplish His purpose. There is nothing outside of His plan. The psalmist David understood that the Lord's plan in choosing Israel was to reach all nations through Israel. And I quote, "Sing to Yahweh, all the earth. Declare His glory among the nations, His marvels to every people." To demonstrate His plan through one people, to reveal Himself to all. The Lord's plan has always been to bring all men and women back to Him. There's nothing outside of His dominion. Civil authority is itself given by God. How it is used is too often a matter of bad choices. But remember, Jesus told Pilate He would have no authority had it not been given to Him from above. And I quote, "You would have no authority over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." And that's from St. John 19, verse 11. In our second reading, the beginning of the Apostle Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians, the Apostle greets the early believers and reminds them and all of us, you have been chosen. We have been chosen by the Lord to be a part of His saving plan. Jesus said, "You did not choose me, but I chose you." And that's from John's Gospel, chapter 15 and verse 16. Do we believe this? Do we live our life differently because of it? We can. We should. It's the truth which can and will set us free if we embrace it. In this gospel passage, the Pharisees hatched another plan to try to trip Jesus up, to get Him to say something which they can then use to accuse Him of violating the law of Moses or the Roman law. The Jewish people were under the unjust rule of the Roman emperor and had to pay tribute or taxes to this ruler. If he said not to pay the tribute, they could accuse him of being an insurrectionist. If he just said, yes, we must obey all civil law, including unjust laws, they could accuse him of somehow selling out to Rome. The Lord's response to this false dilemma reminds us that we are called to respect civil authority. But we must always remember the difference between what is owed to the state and what is owed to God. The state does not enjoy absolute authority. Only God does. But as Christian citizens, we have, in the words of the Second Vatican Council, and I quote, "the obligation of rendering to the state whatever material and personal services are required for the common good," end quote. And that's from Gaudium et Spes, paragraph 75 of the Second Vatican Council. We're not required to obey unjust laws. In fact, unjust laws, those that do not recognize, for example, the natural moral law concerning the fundamental right to life, are not law at all. Our active participation in the social order is also an opportunity for us to be the leaven and light which is needed. But we must exercise our citizenship in a morally coherent way, with a formed conscience, remembering that our first service and first obedience is owed to God, who is the source of all authority.